it's possible that this might be the last time you see some pretty key players in a Sporting KC jersey. There are some decisions to be made this offseason. Tim Melia's contract expires at the end of 2024. He has no option currently. Johnny Russell's contract expires at the end of 2024. He has no option currently. Players like Eric Tommy, their contract expires. There is an option. Willie Agata, there's an option. Logan Denbe, there's an option. I mean, Remy Voltaire, Andre Fontes. I mean, some of these players, you know, they aren't longtime members, but Tim Melia and Johnny Russell in particular, there is a non-zero chance that this is the last time they play for Sporting Kansas City at Children's Mercy Park.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of No Other Pod. I'm Jimmy, along with my good buddy, Daniel Kooser. Dan, Mr. Royal, you got the Royals jersey on. The Royals are in the playoffs. It's good to see a Royals fan.
I thought 10 years ago, I thought it was one and done, or two and done, if you will, 2014 and 15. And it's a weird time. It's good to be back.
Yeah, they got some young talent. It's fun.
Oh, yeah. Starting to feel like, I remember years ago, you and I were like, hey, World Cup coming to the United States and potentially Kansas City. How old will we be when it comes? And I kind of feel like that with the Royals between playoffs and stuff like that.
Yeah. How old? I was talking about this with a coworker the other day because, not that long ago, the season 2 of House of the Dragon wrapped, and I'm watching Rings of Power right now. But with these shows, there's 2 years between seasons, and these are 4 or 5 season long shows. And I'm like, I'm going to be, 40 something by the time these damn shows are ending. And they started when I'm in my early 30s, and I don't like that.
Are you watching The Penguin?
I'm not. I heard that there was some penguin junk in the first episode.
Penguin junk?
Penguin penis. We'll just say it.
I guess I don't recall that.
Or maybe it's coming in episode 2. I don't know. There's a whole article about how he had to wear a prosthetic.
Oh, he was. Yeah, he said he did wear one. But yeah, it hasn't happened yet.
Hasn't happened yet? Okay. Well, spoiler alert.
I mean, so what's her name? The villain, Falcone, Christina Milioti, I think maybe is her name.
Okay.
She is spooky. I mean, it's wonderful, dude. Now, if you're a true Batman fan, though, you're gonna get pissed because they changed the guy's name from Cobblepot to just Cobb. Which they did that in the Batman movie. They changed Riddler's name from like Enigma to like Neiman or some shit, right?
Yeah.
And then, there's little things here and there. Also, she's this Sophia Falcone, I think her name is. She's like, I got out of Arkham because I'm rehabilitated. And it's like, the fuck? I didn't think people get rehabilitated at Arkham. I thought they just go there and they're stuck now.
And they just get tortured?
Yes. I'm like, there's no rehabilitation. I thought that was for all the nutsos that do crime.
Right. Yeah. That's a little different. I mean, yeah, these superhero shows, they're definitely putting on their own little twist. I have not yet watched Agatha All Along. I need to watch that on Disney. I've heard good things.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah. I mean, just in time for Halloween too, man.
I know.
Scratching my spooky itch that I get every year.
Spooky show, and yeah, by the time you're listening to this, it's going to be October 1st, so I need to start watching that show. So
it is. Maybe you're listening to this, and it's Royals game day as well, man. It is the season. Hunt for October, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was lucky enough to go see you in Jersey Boys with our good friend Chris this past week, and that was awesome, incredible. I don't know.
Glad you had fun.
There's at least the sing-along show left. Is there any?
There are 4 shows left.
Okay,
including the sing-along that was added.
Yeah, go get your tickets. See Dan be Bob Gaudio stealing the show.
I don't know about that. It's fun, man. I'm having a good. Does it look like I'm having fun up there?
It does look like you're having a good time.
I know. I can feel it. I'm like,
your little dance moves and everything, and you're up there moving along.
Don't you patronize me. You little dance moves.
No, it looks fun. But it's so funny that you're in this show right now because my entire TikTok algorithm is just a Frankie Valli that they've pulled out of a jar of formaldehyde pretending to perform on stage, barely moving his lips and looking like he's just a mummy from 100 years ago.
You know, there's a line in this show that kind of hits pretty hard where the mob boss is like, "You sure I can't help you out? You're going to be on the road till you're 90.
Yeah.
Frankie Valli is currently 90 years old, still performing. So it's like that joke that was written in 2002 or whatever it was is still hit.
Performing is doing a lot of heavy lifting in terms of what he's doing on that stage. But
had $1 million hole he had to get out of, man. Had to keep performing.
Yeah, you learn a lot. It's a good show. So go check it out if you haven't seen it. It's a fun time.
It is.
There were a couple of games to talk about this week. One was the U.S. Open Cup final at LAFC, and that was really the only thing that was left for our season at this point because 2 games left at this point. As of this recording in the regular season, we have been eliminated from the playoffs. It was really up to the U.S. Open Cup final, and could they pull it off at LAFC? And the first thing that annoyed me about this, and I complained a little bit on Twitter, as I'm known to do occasionally, but first off, why is this game on a weeknight? Can you not, I think we talked about this a little bit last week, but can you not mess with the schedule a little bit to put your domestic cup final on a weekend? There's got to be a way to figure it out. Number 2, if it is going to be on a weeknight, why is the kickoff at 9:50 p.m. local time for one of the teams participating?
Well, how do you do it?
Unbelievable.
If it's West Coast, when do you start that game?
Who gives a shit? They're LAFC fans. They can get off work and get to a game. Started at 6 or 6:30, so at least it's 8:30 our time. This kicked off at 11 p.m. East Coast.
That's crazy. So if it was here, then it would have kicked off at
7:30 from
5. Yeah, probably 7:30, but it would have been 5:30 their time, and they would have been bitching at a different. Were you sleepy? Were you a little sleepy boy?
Yes, absolutely. I took a nap at halftime. I set an alarm on my phone for 15 minutes.
I was going to. And Marissa goes, "You'll never wake up." And I go, you know me too well. I will probably just sleep through that bitch.
I was so tired by the time this was kicking off. I was like, how the hell am I going to stay up for this whole game? And then it went to extra time.
Yeah. I usually don't get on my phone during games, but when you're getting sleepy, you got to do something. You got to find different things to look at. And it was rough, man. But I was very pumped to watch this on Wednesday night, man. I had my energy drink, had a little caffeine in me. I was ready to go.
I had coffee at like 6, thinking that was going to help. That didn't help. Look, my big mistake was I was watching on my couch. And I was like, I'm just going to lay down on the couch and watch the first half.
Don't lay down. You can't do it.
I was like, I'm just going to put this pillow on the armrest and just lay here for a second while I'm just going to have this blanket as I lay here and watch this game. Next thing I know, it's halftime. And I'm like, okay, set an alarm for 15 minutes. The second they blew halftime, I was like, hey, Siri, set an alarm for 15 minutes from now. And I was like, I'm going to wake up. And I woke up right as Daniel Salawi was setting the ball down for the second half kick.
Man, perfect time. That's great. That's great. I get like that too, man. I'll be in the recliner, and the moment I start to put the recliner back more, that's all she wrote. I'm going out.
It's just, I get that West Coast and all that stuff, but I just feel like you got to figure out, if it's going to be that late, figure out a way to make it on a weekend. But look, West Coast, I'm from the West Coast. I love the West Coast. West Coast, best coast, it's better than the East Coast. I'll say it. But we're used to dealing with weird times. NFL football starts at 10 a.m. for us. We're eating brunch while we're watching NFL football. Monday Night Football's done at like 8 p.m. You still have a whole night ahead of you.
Y'all got like certain. I watch reality TV, and certain reality competition shows I watch are all like the West Coast stream will be up in and out, and I'm like, what? What do you mean the West Coast stream?
That part was annoying.
So like, you could know people in Kansas, but like that have already seen the show that you're trying to watch in California.
Yeah, or you'd be like, when
it could
Game
be spoiled online.
Right, you'd have to be careful not to. So when like Game of Thrones would come on, it would come on at whatever time it does, 9 p.m., but it wouldn't come on until 9 p.m. Pacific time. So especially if like the official Game of Thrones Twitter account's doing like a tweet along. You're like, well, I can't look at Twitter because they're spoiling the shit out of what. Like at that point, I'm just like, let me watch it at 7. Let me make it. Yeah. Don't make me feel bad that I don't have plans tonight from 7 to 9. Let me just sit down in front of my TV and watch Game of Thrones with the rest of the country. But I think
great. I had no idea.
Well, streaming has helped that a little bit now because it's like, okay, Rings of Power comes out at like 3 a.m. Pacific time or something like that whenever it launches, so you can watch it whenever. Although that makes me mad because then I come on Facebook in the morning if I'm logging in for work and it's like, here's a headline with a major spoiler about the show at 7 in the morning, and I'm like, this is dumb. So this has been my old man rant.
Hey, that sounds like something you've had to deal with for a while, but dude, we know we hate night games. It is what it is. But the buzz should have kept us awake because this is a cup final.
It was.
And we were in this game till the very end, my man. Mm-hmm. We were part of it. We had chances, we had opportunities. LAFC should have felt pretty shitty about themselves that they didn't finish the job earlier.
Well, Peter had said before the game, he was like, we're going to let them dictate this game. Like we know, and he said as much even in the postgame. He's like, we know we're the road team. We're going to be the underdogs. They should be the ones controlling this game. And I loved that strategy of not trying to go in there and bully LAFC around. Just be sound defensively, try to get quality chances on the counter and just sort of hold the line. And for the most part, throughout regulation, they did that. And I thought it was the lineup that they put out. This was a pretty solid lineup. I think the most interesting thing to me was that Castellanos was paired with Volader and that Danny Rosero was not in there.
I understand this. They went with speedy defenders because LAFC has speedy attackers. So it's like they needed someone that could track back with them. And they are fast as hell, man. That Dennis
Bouanga?
Yeah, and Bogush. I don't know. Goulash, what'd you say?
Bogush and Bouanga?
Yes. And
Killer Bees.
Yeah, and then you got, Olivier Giroud. Is that
Olivier
Giroud, right?
Yes.
Olivier Giroud. I'm just like, could you get some names that are a little easier to pronounce for all of us? We literally have a German guy, and you just say Tommy. His last name is Tommy. It's nothing crazy.
Yeah.
It's not, Guggenheim, and it's just Tommy. I'm just saying.
I mean, Bouanga is one of the best attackers in the league. Bogush has come on very well. Giroud is not a speedster at this point in his career, but he's a very technical, sound player. Tillman is great. Hollingshead, they play that sort of 3-man back line with the 2 wing backs, and then Hugo Lloris in goal. I mean, we knew this was a team that was a very difficult team. And then when you look at some of the people that they have on the bench, Ilie Sanchez is on the bench. Christian Oliveira is on the bench. Kai Kamara is on the bench. Omar Campos. Like, they didn't even have Carlos Vela on the bench, even though they could have. I mean, we knew this was a deep team that was going to be very difficult, and Sporting Kansas City was going to have to be very smart in how they played it. And overall, I think I agree with Peter Vermees's assessment of how this game went. I think Sporting played well. I think Sporting did about the best they could do. I think they got, and we'll talk about this probably after our break here in just a couple minutes, but they got probably the short end of the stick on what should have been a video review for LAFC's first goal. We'll talk about there in a little bit. But then ultimately, once it went to 30 extra minutes, I mean, you just look at LAFC's bench, you look at Sporting KC's bench, it's on the road, it's at BMO Stadium. Like, this Sporting just wasn't really built for a 120-minute marathon of a game of this caliber. And, they fought valiantly, and it just ultimately time caught up to them. I think if they could have somehow gotten it to penalties, I would have been feeling pretty good, but just wasn't in the cards because of that 30 extra minutes.
Yeah, the 3-1 scoreline doesn't really reflect the game as a whole.
No, not at all.
It's unfortunate, but man, you got to hand it to Eric Tommy's goal. I mean, it was beautiful.
Yeah,
hard. and it answered LAFC's goal real quick.
Yeah,
and
sure.
That says something to answer back like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there was, one thing, and we'll go through the goals here and a little bit of the highlights and such. One thing about this game that I think showed is that, at least in this isolated example in this game, this team showed a lot of resilience and it showed a lot of fight. It's the type of effort that I would have liked to have seen in a lot of other games this year. And again, it sounds silly because 3-1 scoreline, but like you said, 3-1 was not indicative of what this game was. In the regular season, if you go to LAFC and you draw them on the road 1-1 and you get a point out of that game, especially the way that Sporting played it, that would have been a very good result. So it just was unfortunate that LAFC is a machine that mows through people, and they kind of got a little bugaboo off their back of finals in recent history, and now they've won U.S. Open Cup, so it is what it is.
What's most unfortunate is Kyrie Shelton kind of had a front row seat to every single goal. I'm not saying he was the cause of every goal, but it was on his side, and he was able to see them all happen.
Yeah, it is a bummer. Why don't we take our break here, and then we'll talk about some of the goals and sort of what happened in this game, and move on to the other game. But we'll take our break, and we'll be right back.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your number one source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com. I love a great deal as much as the next guy, but I shouldn't have to jump through flaming hoops just to save a few bucks. Saving money should be easy with no BS. So when Mint Mobile said it was easy to get wireless for just $15 a month with a purchase of a 3-month plan, I had to call them on it. And it turns out it really is just that easy. At Mint Mobile, you can get $15 a month with a 3-month plan of premium wireless service. The longest part of the process of Mint Mobile was the time I spent on hold trying to cut my old provider. So to get started, go to mintmobile.com/KCSNNOP. There, you'll see that right now, Mint Mobile has 3-month plans for only $15 a month, including the unlimited plan. And all plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text on the nation's largest 5G network. So you can find out how easy it is to switch to Mint Mobile and get 3 months of premium wireless service for just $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and a new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/KCSNNOP. That's mintmobile.com/KCSNNOP. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/KCSNNOP. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
So I want to hit you with something here. Chip, the keeper of stats, sent us over some stuff, and I kind of want to break it up. I don't want to send it all. And,
okay.
And it's shorter because I bitched at him. No, I didn't bitch. I scolded quite the lecture. But no, I just kind of want to read what he wrote for the LAFC game and then hit you up with what he said for the St. Louis game.
Let's do it.
So Chip says we're out of playoff contention. We lost the Open Cup final, and we got knocked around by St. Louis, and we don't even have a Daniel Kooser show to cheer us up. I don't know why I had to say that, but yeah, you got 4 more opportunities to see the show.
Go see it.
But hey, at least we didn't get the wooden spoon. Let's look at numbers. Sporting had 2 games in a row that meant something to the fans, Open Cup and St. Louis, and we dropped both of them 3-1 that started being down 0-1, us tying and then getting 2 dropped on us. SKC is now at 34 points for the season with 2 games left to go, one against LAFC at home and another away at Dallas. But fear not, it's not the worst season Kansas City has had. Remember back in 1999 when we had 20 points over the course of the 32-game season? The internet does. He says for the rest of the season, man, it doesn't matter. Get points, don't get points, it doesn't matter. Throw things to the wind, try out different players, get the new guys in. SKC has 3 players on the roster who haven't seen the pitch at all this season. That's Danny Flores, Chris Rindov, and Ryan Shaway. Give Vargas and Afrifa more minutes. This is the opportunity for the club to show that even though we aren't able to get into anything meaningful for the rest of the season, we can still foster development instead of treating players like option C and only get playing time if Johnny is suffering from internal hemorrhaging and Polito is bleeding out of his eyeballs. So I'm all for. What do you think about that? I mean, who's going to go see a C team though?
Yeah,
I
well,
think that's what it is. It's
there's
money.
only 2 games left in the season. There's only one home game, like you said, LAFC here at home. It is what it is. I mean, yeah, I think Peter probably knows at this point who is on the roster that he wants to keep around and who is on the roster that he doesn't want to keep around. Of the players that haven't seen the pitch this season, okay, well, one is a goalkeeper, third goalkeeper. So Sheaway's probably not going to get minutes over Pulskamp, I would guess. Regarding Danny Flores and Rindov, I mean, this is just a gut feeling, but if you haven't seen the field and the way that the season's gone by this point, I don't think there's probably anything that you're going to do in the last 2 games of the year that's going to change whatever the future may hold for you in terms of your place on this team.
Shimon Rindov was a sub, was actually available on the bench in St. Louis. So that's something. But I like that he included that and like, hey, there ain't nothing left to play for. So just support the team, don't support the team, whatever you want to do. Like, I'm still going to watch the games, right? I still very much enjoy the sport of soccer and this team. Plus, we got to talk about it on here. So it's kind of sad homework that you'd rather not do.
Yeah, it is a bummer. I mean, the goal that LAFC scored, I think the reason it's so frustrating, it's frustrating for a couple of minutes because first off, Eric Tommy has the ball in the midfield and he kind of gets chipped at from behind. He and Peter both believe that he got fouled. The ref pretty immediately waved him up. I haven't seen a great angle of it. I mean, Tommy was pretty emphatic the moment it happened that he got nipped at the heels. So yeah, he certainly believes he was offside or he was fouled. And then Bogusz gets the ball on before he creates the assist. And I'm looking at it right now, and I remember thinking live, I was like, oh man, he sure looks like he's leaning offside. And the question is, does Castellanos keep him on? I know parallax effect. I know everything. I mean, there's also a question of, is Olivier Giroud offside? He's certainly in an offside position, and you can make the argument that he pulls some defenders into a different position than they would have been if he weren't there. But Bogusz, every shot I've seen, again, I know parallax effect. I know we don't have a shot right down the line. I get all of this stuff. It sure looked like to me, you could look at where Castellanos' body position was, look at the lines in the field, and look at the way Bogusz was leaning. That felt like that was offside. And it felt like it might have been clear and obvious. And then there's that Twitter account that I've referenced before, Soccer Photogrammetry. It's at Offside Modeling. He modeled this, and he said that he had Bogusz being offside by about a full foot. So,
well, you know what Peter said? Absolutely offsides. And Peter thinks we're a scorned team. That like the league's out to get us, and that happens all the time. And I'm like, I don't like when he does that because I don't agree with that. I think all teams get screwed over, and he just talks about it the most.
I mean, it was kind of funny because if you look at his quote, he goes, "I'm going to say it this way. I know it's offside. I know it's offside. There's nothing I can do about it. I can say this as a coach at the club for 16 years now. We have suffered way too many times on these types of situations. So I'm not going to focus on that." But then he keeps going. At this stage, you would think that those things would be dealt with in the appropriate manner with VAR and everything else. You shouldn't miss that kind of stuff. You shouldn't. And we suffered too much when it comes to that kind of thing. It's funny that he's like, I'm not going to talk about it. And then he goes back to talking about it. And then he eventually compliments the effort of the team. But
that's like being like, all right, yes, we're good. Fight's over. And another thing.
Yeah. And then he goes back at the end. It's like I said, even on that first goal, you could have easily forgot about the offside. You could have easily just went with the foul that took place and just stayed consistent. I'm not saying this to like draw any sort of like political comparison, but it is kind of like a Trumpian answer almost in a way where he's like, I'm going to say it. I know it's offside, but I'm not going to focus on it too much. But I just have to say it is offside, and the effort was really good. But don't forget it was offside. I'm like, okay, Peter, like, we get it. But it is frustrating.
I wish he would just talk about, the field, what happened, like how we played, what went wrong. Like, it's just, come on, the refs aren't out to get us.
No, I don't think
it was just bad all around.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. That's like, I agree it was a bad call. I agree it should have been called offside. Where I think I start differing with Peter, and he goes into this rant, like you said, a little too much, is I don't think it happens to Sporting KC any more than it happens to any other team. Every single fan base feels this exact way about pro referees. Every single fan base feels this way about when MLSsoccer.com is not covering their team enough. Every single fan base thinks Andrew Wiebe hates their team more than he hates every other team, because you remember the times that you were scorned or that you were left out or you were put into the cold. I mean, it's almost the opposite of how NFL fans who aren't Chiefs fans think about the Chiefs. You look at all the NFL fans every week, they're like, see, the Chiefs get all the calls. And then you look at the stats, like, actually, the Chiefs are sort of like below league average in terms of calls that benefit them. But you remember the things you want to remember. So I think Sporting, as a fan base, and Peter remembers the negative a lot more than the positive. But
that's life, though, dude. The negative just crashes you down more than the positive, man. Mm-hmm. Dude, put it in relationship standards. I once heard that every negative comment to your spouse or partner, it takes 10 positive things to erase the negative.
Yeah.
And it's like that in everywhere. Because you're just gonna focus on the negative.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a bummer. And once Bogusz was sprung, I mean, they tried that offside trap and it just, there was no way. I mean, you're right. It was the goal happened right at Kyrie. That's not his man. I mean, Giroud comes in, he's coming up the middle, and Giroud is just, way past Castellanos. There's no way Casti or Shelton can get to him. So at that point, it just sucks. Your only hope was VAR. But then you're right. Just moments later, the response from Eric Tommy, sort of against the run of play, if you will. It's just a turnover forced in the midfield. And then Eric Tommy just with this nice little strike up into the upper left corner, sort of out of nowhere, makes this 1-1. Man, I thought we had life. I thought this is the point that this turns around.
I got to tell you, this was during this game, we were moving the ball around, and I was like, whoa, we are moving it like we were in that Colorado game, and we know what happened in that Colorado game. It was just feeling good. Mm-hmm. Dude, quick, something just popped into my head. ADD, sorry. Kai Kamara, at the very end of this game, was in a press conference saying, don't take the Open Cup. This is a big deal. Keep it in the league. It's for. I also, the way he was voicing it, it kind of sounded like he was saying that they're canceling the Open Cup. I'm like, Kai, they're not talking about doing that. They're just pulling MLS from it. So I don't know if you have all your facts, my man.
But I get what he's saying. I mean, there's a lot of fan bases that were mad that they didn't even have a chance to compete for the Open Cup. Now, would they have actually shown up games? I don't know.
Because it wasn't a lot of MLS teams.
No, there are only 8 MLS first teams that were able to compete. So
isn't that something?
Yeah, it is weird. I do want to give a quick shout out to Zoran Basong and Alan Polito. I mean, they both worked in that midfield. Zoran kind of starts the turnover. Polito ultimately is the one that completes the turnover, and then it went, from Jake to Johnny, and then around to ultimately to Eric Tommy for that goal. So shout out to them.
Daniel was involved too, wasn't he?
Daniel, I believe, was in there. Tim Melia made a huge save with about 15 minutes to go. Bogusz was basically free, had a point-blank shot, and Tim, I mean, sometimes Tim is still classic Tim, and I don't know how he does it.
Tim's pretty good, man. He'll never let you down. He's all reliable, man. Just like an old hat.
Yeah.
Just feels good.
And then we get the 30 minutes of extra time. I'm a little nervous. I kind of wish it went straight to penalties. We're getting closer to the end of the first half of extra time, and you're thinking, okay, they're kind of coming. Just hold on. And it was Campos who had come on, and he just kind of dribbles around and creates just a little bit of space in the upper corner of the box and fires it past Melia. And once that went in, I was like, man, that's it. I just don't see us coming back now at this point. They already look too tired.
Messed up, dude. That was his first goal with the club.
Yeah. And it's just, I mean, Kyrie's trying out there. I mean, he's closing down. I mean, credit to Kyrie. He's not watching. There's just, Johnny comes off his man, and there's just not a whole lot of rotation because I think they're just too tired. Basong maybe could have had a stronger step.
Stronger step? You mean he could have moved? Because he didn't even move, dude. He just sit there and got smoked.
That's where, if there's some criticism on this play, Basong's got to step in front of the man driving the lane, hold up, and take the charge. But couldn't quite
Bad
do it.
deal, dude. He just got caught being heavy-footed on his right side or something. I don't know. It was pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, and then once that happened, Kai Kamara comes on, and of course, freaking 40-year-old Kai Kamara is going to get out there and score the dagger, making it 3-1. And he's just, he does what Kai has done his entire career. You can see him. He's running into the box, holding up his finger, being like, I'm calling my shot, throw it up there. And he just is a big target in that box. And, I think Kyrie does, all he can do. But, that guy is one of the best in the history of MLS to ever do this. And Kyrie tries to shoulder check him, and Kai just makes a good move. And
dude, he has the longest list of teams on his Wikipedia that I've ever seen in my life. Like, most people that have that long of a list, it's split between their playing and their coaching career. But his is all playing, dude.
It's almost to the point where it's more efficient to name the MLS teams Kai did not play for.
Yeah.
It's wild. He's played for 2 of the 3 Canadian teams. He's played for a whole bunch of teams here. And
he's played for half the league almost, at 12.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a lot.
Wow.
It's crazy. So,
good for him, man, to keep doing it at a high level at 40 and to seal a trophy and get a trophy at 40, he'll get like a medal and whatnot, and at 40 years old. That's just very neat.
Before we move on to the St. Louis game real quick, I do, want to give, we're going to probably do 2 toasts to the match this week, but a Holiday Distillery toast to the match. I want to give a shout out to the 600 Sporting Kansas City fans who traveled to Los Angeles to support the club at the U.S. Open Cup final. That is a hard trip to make in the midweek. I look at flights to L.A. all the time because my family's out there. I know they're not cheap. So to get out there, to have 600 supporting the team in an Open Cup final, Holiday Distillery toast to the match, all the sporting fans who showed up to support the club in that final. So
it's pretty awesome, dude. I was hearing some of the players say how much that meant to them. They didn't know how many would go. Also, knowing how their season has been, you could think maybe they're thinking, shit, why would anyone come watch us? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I thought Beasler was out there with the fans as they were marching into the stadium. Just, cool atmosphere. And
yeah.
I saw some tweets from some people who were there, and they were like, it's been a rough few years, but, for that night, it felt like sporting mattered again for those couple hours, and they were competing for a trophy, and it gave them a little bit of that rush that used to be there. So,
yeah,
pretty cool.
That is very cool.
And then we turned to the weekend. We knew we were probably going to see some rotation, and we saw quite a lot of rotation for the St. Louis game. Really, the motivation for this game was get a point, knock St. Louis out of playoff contention. And it was interesting because this was the first time in his young career that the captain's armband went to young Jake Davis.
How fun is that?
I thought that was pretty cool. You look at who was in that lineup, and in terms of people who have been around, I guess you could say maybe Remy Voltaire, but I think this is a nod from Peter Vermees to Jake and the development he's had in the leadership he's shown to say, hey, yeah, you're going to be the captain tonight. So
pretty cool.
Yeah.
So to confirm though, St. Louis is indeed eliminated from playoff contention.
Oh, were they eliminated because of other results? Yeah.
Has to be. There's that. They got the E next to their name, just like we do. And it's just sad. You never want that E next to your name. You want that X, you know what I mean? Clenching a playoff berth. And it's, man, I'm trying to stay positive, but I don't know. I don't know. We'll do an end of season review in a few weeks, I'm sure, but it's something's got to change, man. We got to bring in some people. We got to spend some money or something. Use New England as the blueprint. Use Miami as the blueprint. Like, those owners are willing to. Well, they're willing to spend a little bit. Even New England. Or Atlanta. They open the pocketbooks, man.
Yeah. Yeah, they have, and Atlanta's fallen off a little bit because of some mismanagement and such. But I still look at a place like Columbus. They're another mid-market team. They've spent some money. They've spent it wisely. FC Cincinnati has spent some money.
Look at the two Ohio teams, number 2 and number 3 in their conference. What a time to be an Ohioan.
Yeah, there's not much else good that comes from Ohio, but they got a couple good soccer teams. So look, it's not. I didn't say it. It's the kids who use Ohio to say something sucks nowadays.
Oh, really?
That's so Ohio. That's not how they say it. I'm just really old, but
Forgot we were in Ohio.
yeah. But Ohio apparently means that something's terrible. Oh,
goddamn swing state is what that is.
Don't want to be Ohio. But yeah, so you're right. St. Louis is officially eliminated because of the results of with Minnesota and Portland. But unfortunately, they didn't get eliminated because of what we did to them. They just happened to get eliminated on the same night. I was intrigued by this lineup. I mean, to see a front line of Afrifa, Agata, and Vargas, I was like, okay, that's interesting. And to see Zorn Basong in the midfield, but not in that 4-2-3-1, where he was a little bit more of a sort of not an attacking midfielder, but more of a box-to-box midfielder, because Remy Voltaire was a little bit more of that defensive midfielder. It was just interesting to see. And, I mean, I don't know. Again, you look at the advanced stats of this game, Sporting just about split possession. They had more shots. They had more shots on goal. This game probably was a lot more even than the scoreline suggests in terms of expected goals. Yeah, it was almost perfectly even, about 2 per. It just sucked that, again, Sporting conceded first in the 34th minute. Toyshirt, or however you say his name, he just got the ball and fired one, just sort of a wonder goal. You can't really do anything other than sort of tip your cap at that finish, because it was a great finish that gets past Pulskamp. And once we went down in St. Louis, I was like, this is going to be a tough one. But
yeah, they look really good, man. It was pretty physical straight from the first kickoff.
It was. I mean, these games are always, I think, going to be that way. If there's any question about, is this a manufactured rivalry or what? Like, this is a real rivalry. And the biggest thing that sucks about this is, we're both eliminated. They have 3 points on us right now. I would love for Sporting to somehow be able to finish above St. Louis in the standings. They're both, I think, they're level on wins across the all-time series now, so that's unfortunate. Sporting could have opened a little 2-win lead had they gotten a result. But 54th minute, Alm gets a goal. This one was really frustrating to me because it comes off of a goal kick, and Volater just sort of misplays defending on Joao Klaus, and then it ultimately leads to just a little tap in from Alm, and you cannot let this happen off of a goal kick. This is just unacceptable defending. But
it sure is, man. It's it sucked to watch this game. It sucked to even try to care about it. Pulskamp didn't mess up or nothing all night. It's all right. Afrifa, though, man, Afrifa's hungry for goal and always getting in pretty dangerous positions. And that is a young man right there who has a little promise. You polish some things there, that guy could be a name. But I mean, not right now.
He's only 23 years old, and he's done this a couple times where he gets a ball from distance. He's not afraid to shoot. He's had plenty of times where he's shot and it hasn't been on target. It's gone up or whatnot. So, hey, but if he can keep it down and on target, he doesn't even, he takes this thing first time. He doesn't stop it. He doesn't set himself up. He just has space. He takes it first time, pulls one back on the road to put Sporting back in this game past a very good keeper in Rowan Berkey. That's going to be a goal that he will remember for the rest of his life, even though the result didn't go well. That was a quality goal. And to see a player do that, even just one time, you're like, okay, he has the ability to do it. Now, how do we figure out how can we get that out of him more consistently? He is a player that I'm very excited about continuing to develop in a Sporting shirt going forward.
100%. I just want to say it now. That's my second Holiday Distillery toast of the match, man. And it's Steven Afrifa.
Yeah, Afrifa, well-deserved. One of the only attacking players in the game who was showing much promise. So definitely deserving of the second Holiday Distillery toast of the match right there for sure.
Yes.
And then, 75th minute, it gets sealed. The most frustrating part about this goal for me is that St. Louis were actually down a man on the field at this point because they had a player off for injury. Now, I know Sporting had a player go down who was holding his some part of his body for injury and sort of the build-up on this goal, but St. Louis had 10 players on the field, and they made this look easy. And this is just the type of stuff where, Edward Lewin, there's nobody on the backside to defend him, and he just takes it from the top of the box and puts it past Bolskamp. It's 3-1. And the game was probably closer than 3-1 scoreline, but it is what it is. And Sporting have 2 games left in the regular season, like Chip mentioned, and it's not much to play for at this point.
Well, Chip says for the St. Louis game, Afrifa got his goal after a 400-plus minute drought for him.
That's crazy.
Agata's drought continues past the 350-minute mark with his last goal happening in July. Agata and Afrifa are still at the highest goals per 90 of anyone on the team, sitting at 0.5 goals per 90, followed by Alan Polito at 0.34, Chanis at 0.32, and Vargas at 0.31.
Forgot about Chanis.
Yeah. One thing I will say about the game at St. Louis, while we didn't put many into the net, we were taking shots. Rotating the strikers made us display speed rather than trying to pull off technical passing. SKC played less ultimate frisbee soccer, where you can't dribble once the ball is passed to you, and tried to cut into the defense more.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. I mean, there have been moments of promise for Sporting this year. They just haven't been able to put it all together. And now they come back home this weekend to host LAFC. We got 2 games left. LAFC has 4 games left. They're sitting on 52 points. They're 6 points off conference leader LA Galaxy, so it'll be tough to overtake them for the number 1 seed. But only 2 points separate the 2nd seed and the 5th seed. And the difference between a 2nd seed and a 5th seed is hosting a playoff game and traveling to a playoff game. So if you think LAFC does not have something to play for being number 2 in the West at this point, they have everything to play for with still 4 games left. So they're going to look at this match against a pretty rough Sporting Kansas City team that's already eliminated. And if you're an LAFC fan, you have this game circled on your schedule as this is a must-win 3-point game.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a very tough game. We just saw how good LAFC is at home. We played them well on the road. So honestly, I wouldn't be opposed to Sporting replicating their strategy at Children's Mercy Park. Don't try to dictate this game against a better LAFC team. Let them come at you and pick your spots. I think that's your best chance to win, even at home. I think it's going to be tough. It will be super interesting to see what kind of lineup Peter puts out and what the motivation of the guys are this week.
Wouldn't it be nice to see us play a part in them, like hosting or not hosting a playoff game?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, at this point, you're just kind of like a little troll spoiler. Like that's the only thing left.
We are a little troll spoiler. Dallas is trying to squeeze into the playoffs. It's still possible for them. They're still a little ways off, though. I don't think.
Yeah, they're probably going to be eliminated by the time we play them, but
100%. But LAFC, man, you can play around a little bit. Dude, damn near every team plays this Wednesday.
Yeah.
It is a stacked Wednesday of games. But it's Columbus versus Miami is like kind of what I have my eye on.
That's a good one.
I know Columbus will not catch them in points. Probably not. But, it's such little games left. But if anyone, they are the biggest threat to Columbus or to Miami, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, Columbus wants to solidify that number 2 seed because they're just 1 point off of Cincinnati, who's in third place. So they're going to want to make sure that they can host as many playoff games as they can. And if something weird happens in the playoffs and Miami loses, then the East runs through Columbus if they hold on to that 2nd point.
And this game is at Columbus as well. So got their fans with them. I don't know. That's the one I'm paying attention to this week, man, because it's kind of that marquee matchup,
Yeah, it'll be
crazy
fun.
How it's not. I wish it was decision day. That's a decision day game.
That would be fun. That would be super cool. This is our last game at Children's Mercy Park this year.
It is.
It's a little sad. I'm curious to see what kind of crowd we get out there. I can't imagine it's going to be close to a sellout, but you don't know because this is the last time for, let's see, it's October. So most of October, November, just 4 months at least.
Get out there. I mean, it's LAFC, dude. They're premier caliber team. I mean, if you're upset with the club or whatever, go out and watch some good soccer with LAFC because they're damn good.
Yeah. And, Sporting will be back in competitive soccer in early February, probably with the CONCACAF Champions Cup. We don't know what that schedule will look like, but, unless you're traveling to Dallas, and I don't know why you would, this is probably your last chance to see live Sporting KC soccer for the next 4 months. And what's more, and I hate to kind of harp on this, but it's possible that this might be the last time you see some pretty key players in a Sporting KC jersey. There are some decisions to be made this offseason. Tim Melia's contract expires at the end of 2024. He has no option currently. Johnny Russell's contract expires at the end of 2024. He has no option currently. Players like Eric Tommy, their contract expires. There is an option. Willie Agata, there's an option. Logan Denbe, there's an option. I mean, Remy Voltaire, Andre Fontes. I mean, some of these players, they aren't longtime members, but Tim Melia and Johnny Russell in particular, there is a non-zero chance that this is the last time they play for Sporting Kansas City at Children's Mercy Park. And that kind of sucks.
It does suck. Yeah, it sucks a lot.
They've been really good servants of this club. Tim Melia at least has a trophy from the 2017 Open Cup. I think one of the things, if this is the end of it for Johnny Russell, and I don't know anything, they might work on a deal where they can bring him back at a reduced rate. He's not going to be at the same salary level if he does come back. But one of the things I think that bothers me about Johnny Russell's time is that he would have spent so long here and not have been able to be on a team that won a trophy. Because, I mean, I think without question, he's a future Sporting legend. I mean, he put blood, sweat, tears, literally on that field for this club. And I think the roster construction around him failed him during some prime years of his career.
Yeah.
So that's a big bummer. I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Matt Doyle, he even he put up in his armchair analyst column a few days ago. He said of Sporting Kansas City, quote, lots of big decisions to make this winter as Johnny Russell, Tim Melia, Remy Voltaire, and Andreu Fontes are all out of contract while there's a club option for Eric Tommy. That's potentially $4.1 million of open salary budget based on this year's MLSPA salary guide. And then I wonder about Nemanja Radia, whose 2025 deal is guaranteed, but he's missed the past 2 months with a groin injury, and his $1.5 million reported salary sits in the sweet spot of this isn't too big to buy out, and we'd get a lot of flexibility if we did. So Sporting could very quickly free up over $5.5 million of salary budget and open a DP slot. They have a ton of room to add some quality top-end pieces. That alone should have them looking like a new, better team, provided Vermees and new sporting director Mike Burns can find the right pieces. No guarantee given Casey's hit rate over the past half decade. I mean, that's if all of that were to come to pass. Now, I don't think that all 5 of those players or 6 of those players are going to be gone from this team. I think a couple of them are probably back next year. I'd be surprised if we totally moved on from Eric Tommy. I'd probably be surprised if we bought out Nemanja Radia, but I think Matt Doyle makes a good point about why have him on a DP contract at $1.5 million if he has been hit or miss health-wise and hasn't been all that good when he's been on the field. But
yeah,
I don't know. I just, like I said, ultimately, this might be your last chance to see some true future Sporting legends on the field in Sporting Blue this coming Saturday against LAFC. And no matter what happens, I hope that the fans who are there stick around to give an ovation and thank Melia and Russell in particular, because we just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, man, it kind of feels like senior night or something. You know what I mean? It truly does feel like college basketball senior night or something.
Yeah. And we know that Sporting has said that there's some changes coming, so this might be it, but we shall see. One thing that Mike Kuhn pointed out on Twitter is that Sporting Kansas City's max point total is at 37 right now, meaning even if Kansas City won their final 2 games, they will finish with the fewest points in a 34-game season in club history. So you mentioned the 20-point season. That was in a 32-game season. So the previous low over a 34-game season was 38 points in 2019. So not that long ago. It would be the max that they can get is 37. So kind of a bummer, but it is what it is. So the last Sporting thing that I was going to talk about this week is fan voting has launched for Sporting's annual team awards. It feels a little bit weird to maybe talk about team awards at this point. But I was going to ask you just a couple of them. Like, we're not going to go through goal of the year, save of the year, etc., because there are a number of different options and whatnot. But if you had to pick an MVP of Sporting KC this year, do you have somebody that you think would be deserving of the fan vote for most valuable player presented by Audi?
Well, I mean,
there's no like clear-cut answer this year
for Sporting.
Yeah, this is all Sporting internal team awards.
It just feels like my gut wants to go Melia or Tommy, you know?
Yeah. I think Tommy is one that popped into my mind. Jake Davis is one that popped into my mind. He doesn't have the stats necessarily that are eye-popping, but he did very well at right back, and then moving to the midfield, I think, he's certainly one where if you think about like what does the term most valuable player mean, if you take Jake Davis off of this team this year, I think there are a lot more gaping holes, and there are probably some real problems for Sporting KC beyond what they had already. Offensive player of the year, I don't know. I mean, there's really only three options this year. It's either Agata, who has 9 goals and 3 assists through 1,600 minutes, Alan Polito, 7 goals and 5 assists through 1,800 minutes, or Eric Tommy, 7 goals, 4 assists through 2,200 minutes. I mean, I guess if you had to choose one of those three for offensive player of the year, who are you picking?
Gosh, dude.
It's like picking the best of bad options.
Why don't I just fake a bad connection and drop from this pod? Like, that sounds that sounds far easier, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I guess maybe Agata just because he's the goal leader, but Eric Tommy could, I mean, it can't be Polito. Polito's just disappeared for too long this year. I just don't see how it can be Polito. Defensive player of the year, again, maybe Jake. Probably Jake, I guess. I don't know. Who else? I mean, there's so much rotation on that back line this year. I don't think any of the center backs deserve it, and it's not libeled, so it's probably Jake Davis, I guess, right? I don't know.
No.
It's pretty frustrating, and I don't know. It's just fans can cast their votes. SportingKC.com/awards through next Sunday. There's also newcomer of the year, goal of the year, and save of the year. So I don't know. Yeah, send us your thoughts. Let us know who you think are the winners of these awards. And I'm curious to know what sort of engagement they get this year on the fan voting. So, do you have anything else you want to say about Sporting KC before I hit one final thing that I just think is funny?
Oh, you got a funny thing?
Well, so Fabrizio Romano has tweeted out that FIFA has confirmed the 12 stadiums in the United States that will host matches at the new Club World Cup, because the FIFA Club World Cup's happening here in June 2025 in the United States. And there's one stadium in particular that stuck out to me because it went so well last time, and that stadium would be Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, Florida. They are going right back to where people are crawling in vents and people are getting crushed by crowds busting through fences. And I know that there's going to be some World Cup games there in a couple of years, but man, I will not ever see a soccer game at that stadium and not think about all that craziness that we saw during America.
I don't know if I'd want to go to that stadium at all.
Yeah.
Well, I have a really hard time visiting most large stadiums. I mean, even some of these NFL stadiums these days, man, there are fights breaking out. Some dude got hole stomped. Mm-hmm. Someone stomped a dude's head, and I'm like, damn, is that what you got to look forward to? You could look at someone wrong or something, and they beat you up. I don't want to be beat up.
No, it seems terrible. I don't know. I mean, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, they host soccer games all the time. I get it. That'll be fine. Lumen Field in Seattle.
Wasn't that stadium? Well, I'm sorry. Wasn't Mercedes-Benz built for the Falcons and Atlanta United?
Yeah, so I mean, it was built primarily for the Falcons, but it was from the get-go that it was always the plan that Atlanta United was also going to
correct
that stadium.
Now, Seattle is absolutely using an NFL stadium for sure.
Yeah,
we know that.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's just it's interesting. I mean, I just can't imagine Hard Rock Stadium being a stadium that I want to go play or watch a soccer game at. So I don't know.
I agree.
It is what it is, but. Club World Cup coming to the United States in June of 2025, and maybe this is Hard Rock's chance to show that, hey, we can actually hold a game here and it won't be an utter disaster. So maybe FIFA's doing it on purpose to work out the kinks before the World Cup shows up, and they do it in 2026. So we'll see.
We'll see.
You got anything else you want to talk about this week?
Oh, I got nothing, man. Seems season is gonna end soon.
Yeah.
Then we'll just have to gear up and pick our favorite playoff teams and see how things go.
Yeah, we'll talk about the playoffs. We'll also try to do some interviews this offseason, be it with players, former players, coaches. Maybe we'll interview some fans. I don't know. Try to get some fan stories on here. But if you have some ideas of who you want to have us interview, I don't know. Shoot us a message. If you haven't used the KCSN hotline powered by Mint Mobile, 913-407-6524, send in a question or let us know who you'd like us to see that we try and interview. We've gotten a couple of messages on the hotline. Joshua Zars, thank you for your message. You made us look up Cuckoo Kangaroo, something that neither of us knew about. But
now I'm a big fan.
But yeah, make sure you send in your questions and comments on the KCSN hotline powered by Mint Mobile. You can also leave us a 5-star rating and review. Let us know who you want us to interview in the reviews or what you'd like to see from the show this offseason or next season. We'll make sure we read those here on air. Follow us on Twitter at NoOtherPod, at Dan Kooser, at JCMax03. Same handles on Instagram. Check us out on YouTube, KCSN Soccer, or via the Kansas City Sports Network app. But until next time, he's Dan. I'm Jimmy. We'll catch y'all later. See ya.
See you in Jersey.